All right, so back on board the video train. You may perhaps notice a different tone in my voice. Yeah, barely. So yeah, it's been a bit of an adventure. Yeah, I'm getting over it. It's still got its talons in me, but I think I'm getting over it. There we go. The the night after the last video I did distinctly got way worse. But it wasn't like a congested, gooey cold. I had a lot of joint pain and I had a lot of sore throat. Um, and it proceeded to go even further into the territory of almost feeling like I was going to go hoarse, and then earache, where I usually end up getting issues. When I get an infection of some kind, I get a earache. It's I think it's the eustachian tubes. Yeah, that was sort of like I felt it coming. I felt it coming on, and then when it hit really good that next day. And like I said, the eustachian tubes. When I get a head cold of any kind, it's that spot where the ear canal meets the back of the throat for drainage. I get infections there really easily. Um, and so when that hit, I had a lot of problems over the next couple days with just pain, like voice sounding like Barry Manilow, kind of even deeper and just shredded. It took about 3 days for it to start to be something that I could, blow my nose on, because it wasn't building anything up. So it's really taken its time getting out of my system too. That's the thing that surprised me the most is like I usually like 3 to 4 days is usually pretty good for me for a cold. And the other thing that surprised me about it was like I can't remember in the last 2 years having had a cold, except since going like the trip to Hawaii got a cold, and I had one just this past week. And it's like that's two in one chunk of 4 months time. And I rarely have gotten colds, and so I don't know what happened there, but I'm wondering if what was it? After I got back from Honolulu, I had some flare of digestive problems, which happens for my illness from time to time. But I'm wondering if that flare disrupted my immune system a little bit and made me more vulnerable. Anyway, this week was supposed to be writing week, and I have not really got much of that done. I was sort of uh, unable to get the mind frame together to work on that, but I'm working on figuring out some of my plans for what I want to do going forward. It'd be nice if when I go traveling, like I want to be able to get potentially 3 of the maker spaces in Tulsa, Oklahoma, somewhere in Mississippi. I think I have one lined up, and then a place in New Orleans. And then after that, I'm heading out to VidCon, California. It'd be great if I could find some YouTubers to network with and do some video content with. And what I'll probably see if I can do at that point is find some very small YouTubers, because I'm not a big YouTuber, and I don't think any big YouTubers are particularly gaming for my content. But I do think I'd like to see if I could find a few people who would be interested in doing video exchanges where they send me clips, I send them clips, and we compile them together into 2 different videos for each of our channels. So I'd like to give that a go and see if I could organize that. Let's see if I can pull it up here somewhere. Did I put that on the desktop? Documents. VidCon 2019 panels. So theoretically, I got into a sort of like a group chat that's hosted by one of 13 well-known YouTubers or something like that. So people like Drawing with Jazza or Katie Morton, who does the psychology YouTube channel that she does. Like names like those, they're doing panels at not really panels. They're actually volunteering time to sit down with small groups of 9 to 12 or some odd number of small groups of YouTubers, sit around at sort of like a round table discussion and, networking and helping people out and that kind of stuff. So theoretically, I got into one of those. Don't know which one yet, and I won't know till the 10th. And they're scheduled all throughout the convention. And last year when I went to VidCon, they had networking events where it would be like a medium-sized room, and people who are like booktubers or new YouTubers or LGBT Q YouTubers, and a few of the other categories of groups that work on YouTube. They have these like hour-long things where anybody who's interested in meeting and working with those groups comes into the room, and you just have this like social free-for-all where you try to find other people who'd be interesting to work with or learn from, and just chit chat back and forth. It was so loud. It was so hard to do anything last time I was there. I don't know if they're going to do it any different this time. I didn't even see whether that is on the plan this time. Like I think it would be unfortunate if they got rid of it, because I think that's a very valuable thing to be able to find other YouTubers that you can network with. But I understand that organizationally it was very difficult, and I don't think it was the best approach that they pulled off. But where I'm going with this is those are scheduled at particular times. And the time that they will happen, I don't know. And I won't know probably until the day I show up. Now, VidCon's schedule says the 10th of July, Founding Featured Creator Concert Series, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the 10th. So, like, I guess it's just a concert that I could show up to. I don't know if I'm in for that. But on the 11th, I basically went through the scheduled events and said, like, okay, so if we decided to do nothing but panels, what schedule would we do? So there's food duplicators, like people who try to reproduce recipes. And that's, I think that's like that's a community panel. So that's accessible to everybody. So that's going to be crowded, and it's going to be a little bit more of a presentation than an interaction. So I could take or leave that one a little bit. The next one at 11 a.m. The Food Duplicators is 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And special effects panel workshop is for creators only, so it's not a community event, and that's from 11:30 to 12:30 on the 11th. High quality, low budget is at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's a creator, and that is that's the 11th as well. Neurodiversity online, so that's for people with unusual worldviews and mindsets, I think. That's a community-driven one, so that's accessible to all the public. I may see about that one, or see about the convention usually has like a dealer's hall and an exhibition hall that you can go check out things that are not time sensitive. So you can go, like last year I looked at a couple of different companies that were showcasing their external hard drives for storage, and I talked with a couple of people about some of the projects that they're working on. Okay. And then they're at 4 to 5 p.m. is Be Copyright and maximize your content creation. So that's to deal with a lot of things like copyright and how to be on the right side of that. And that's a creator only event. And then Adventures in Eating would be like taste testers, or maybe something like Nerdy Nummies. I forget specifically. So that's at 5:30 to 6:30. And then Thursday night evening concert. Thursday night is the evening concert on the festival stage outdoors. That's a 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I don't know if I'm up for that whole thing, but for social networking, I need to be better and more comfortable socializing with people at things like that. So I got to work on that. And then the 12th is Do Good Using Your Platform, which is a community event, so that it may be overcrowded and I won't be able to get a direct interaction of any kind. YouTube stardom with nothing but your phone. That one, I'm pretty sure my phone is too crap to work for what they're looking to do with it. But to me, that would be half the fun. Like, I know, like I read the description on this one. It was by a YouTuber I'm somewhat familiar with seeing his videos, and it's how to use your smartphone with certain apps to do all you need to do to create videos for a channel. And I kind of have a sense of how you can do that, but I want to see what kind of apps and techniques he's using for this. But I've had on the back of my mind for about a year or so this idea of doing a series of videos of like, what's the bare minimum you need to make a video for YouTube. Now I can already use my laptop here to make slideshows, and you can use still images and like photo stock. If you order photos from that, there are stock image sites that you can get free stock images, and you can compile things like that through a video through an image editor and put text over them and use them to highlight certain points and just use them as like a slideshow backdrop. So that's a bare minimum of like what you can get away with. You don't need any imaging equipment or mic for it. Now, that's you're not going to get a very great or popular video that way. The next step in the process is maybe using like my smartphone, which really isn't up to it. Or I would love to see if I could find like a Nokia phone, like a number front phone where you have to hit the number 3 times to get the right letter to do a text. And if I could find a phone that does that and has a feature for like a auto recording, like if I want to record a memo for myself later or something like that, or if there's a service that I could call a number and leave a message and then take that message and send it as an email or something. Like if I could figure something like that out, that would be a way to do audio recording for a video that you could send to a computer that you can then put in with those still images, like free stock images that you can find on certain sites. And then you can make a video that way. And then the next step up would be like a old flip phone that only takes some pictures, but they're small, low res pictures. Like how can you do stuff with that? It doesn't take any video. And then at that frame, it's sort of like setting up frames inside a video window. So like when you see OBS and people doing like gaming videos, you'll see a picture in a picture kind of thing. Now there are ways to stack those pictures. There's a YouTuber that I'm somewhat familiar with who does movie reviews. And what she does is she has her webcam and she'll put it up here in the right-hand corner. That's my right-hand corner. I don't know if it's yours. She'll put her picture of her reaction up here, and then down here across sort of like the middle lower third, she has the video play. And that's one way of doing it. And so you have the space for the channel name up here and some details down here. And then she does breakdowns of some of those in a separate video. And when she does that, she has her reaction or her face video up here, which is very low res camera. So it's like a cheap webcam video, but it's well centered and well placed. And then she has a list down the side about the topics she's going to talk about the movie or the preview, the breakdown, and then she throws up little screen captures from the videos. And so like you could do this with still images of objects in a way that's similar to if you look at like IKEA furniture assembly instructions or Lego instructions. When somebody takes those, it's still images, but it's sort of like step 1, step 2, step 3, and the progress of how you do that. Like there are ways you can do videos with just still images. And so that would be one of those steps. And then eventually doing like a video on my camera or my phone that has the video camera and an audio recorder. And I can record the audio and I can record the video. It doesn't allow me to use apps that let me edit it on the phone, but porting those over onto the computer and then stacking them as low-res videos as smaller windows within a greater picture. I'm not sure what kind of resolution on still images it gets. So like if I were to do a review of one of my books for my regular object review channel, I could do a small setup, take the book, set it up so that it's a really good quality picture of the book standing up in a certain way, and maybe even set it rotating or something if I really wanted to do something like that. And then have, again, that small picture off to the side that's me in video reviewing it at a low resolution. And so I'm like, okay, I can see how we could do videos that way. There's another type of thing that happens, and I've mentioned it when I was working on the animation that I was doing earlier in the year, is there's an animation style that you can see certain YouTubers use where, uh, and I sort of did some playing around with it the other day. I went through some of those videos and found um, what it is it's a narration over a sequence of uh, still images that are not quite stop motion because there's too much space between them. But you'll essentially have somebody going like, "Well, I don't know what," and it's like it's a freeze frame like this, and it's like I don't know what to do, yada yada yada, talking, 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 and then but you, and then like a freeze frame like this, and so there's no movement in between them. It's literally shifting from this to this, and it's still images that do that, but it's body language from still images, usually drawn or otherwise created as visual stills, but it conveys a body language and interactive uh, communication in a way that a still image doesn't. And so there are ways where you could do like an animated or a drawn image. And what you really need at that point is they're essentially emojis, but they're emojis of the same character, and they're expressing important parts of what's being spoken about. And so that's something that you see in some of these animated videos is like literally you could just listen to them as a podcast and that would be fine. But the visual element of it is moving, so to speak. And you needed a standard set of expressive body language poses, and you can get away with like 9 to 12 of them because it'll express most of the parts of your body language, your hands as they move while you're talking. And so when you can get like this is just the reverse of that. If you set it up right, if you this and this are just the same image flipped horizontally. And so some of them can pull double duty. And so like that's definitely something you can do. So if you have a camera, if you have a phone that has a camera that only does still images, being able to clip those images and set up the right kind of backdrop so that you can stitch that into the center of a larger image that you can compile through digital editing or like an Inkscape or just some simple, like if you painted a backdrop and then set that as your backdrop for your video, and then you used sort of like a green screen behind you, and then you did your 13 poses of expressive body language, and then you stitch them together in a way that you could sort of have a narrator, and during a point of the discussion have your hand out like this and have an image of the object you're talking about or illustrative markers of some kind about the thing you're talking about. That's that that makes it possible to produce YouTube videos with nothing more than a still image camera of low resolution. And so like I wanted to do for a while a series about like what's the bare minimum you need to produce a video at all on YouTube, and can you make that bare minimum video not only tolerable but something that people would enjoy. If the content is good, people will come back and watch more of that type of video. And so like I think that would be fun to do. I think what he's aiming for the presentation of the panel at VidCon is a little bit more of like you're going to use a smartphone, like a real smartphone, not my smartphone, like a iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy or something like that, where you can download an app that lets you edit in your phone video and the camera, you'll have like a front or a back facing camera or both, and they'll usually have a resolution that's pretty much comparable to a web camera. So with a phone like that, you can actually do a fair amount native in phone to just take it to the next level. I don't have a phone capable of doing that yet, and I'm not in any hurry to worry about it. Sort of. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember which one I pulled up last night. If you go over to a site called a video channel called Tail Foundry, what they do is they usually analyze a type of fiction, so like H.P. Lovecraft or something like that, and they'll say like, okay, so these are the tropes and the structure and where these ideas come from, and these are like the qualifications to be classic science fiction versus a horror story. And so they'll break it down and analyze it in one episode, and then in another episode they'll give you an intro, and then they'll do a story that's narrated, but they'll do a still image made out of still image components that are sort of moved like puppets, but they're only slightly moved back and forth oftentimes. It's not a full like animation, but it is animated video. So I would say like if you could go pull up a Tail Foundry video when we're done here and see the main character of that is, let's see if I actually do have the I snagged some of the still images of the main character who illustrates this. So we're gonna get a little dizzy here. Hang on. So these, let's see if I got this lined up right. The camera freaks out on me tonight. That they use for their main character in the narration, and they're just different poses. He doesn't really move. He'll switch